By the way, just a little story before I turn it over to the master of music here. How did we come up with the name Artsies? Well, it's a natural name, but I still remember the first class, the first year. Uh, they were delicate little creatures in grade 9, and they came running to me and said, Mr. Mueller, they're calling us Artsies. And Mr. Hickey, I think, was with me at that time, and we both started to laugh. And then, what are you laughing at? Well, you are Artsies. What do you expect them to call you? But out of that came, I think it was actually Janice's idea, Mrs. Stone's idea, that we started to use in printed material Arts dash E, Arts Eastwood, right? So that's sort of the moment that idea was born, and no one really worries about being called Artsy anymore. They know that that's a term of to be proud of.
It's a badge, you wear it with pride.
Wear it with pride. Yeah.
I think you certainly picked up the essence of what we're really discussing today. And if I could characterize that by saying that this was a meeting of kindred spirits. We were talking earlier about how it really happened here at Eastwood. And this school goes back with a very long history of arts. Over the years, a faculty had been put together by a former principal, Ira Dempsey, that included many, what I guess those of us who were part of it have always been termed misfits. But they were active in the community. Bill Kofsky was in film and theater. George Joyce was in theater. Terry Kobayashi in the graphic arts. She and her husband, Michael Bird, were the leading authorities on folk art in Canada. Hubert Haysock had his own gallery where he displayed his graphic arts. And you went through the various other areas of the faculty here. John Moses was very active as a performer. I was involved in certain community activities with music as well. And so to bring this rather unique faculty together, which, as we said, Wilf Baxter inherited for better or worse, seemed to be the ideal milieu for an arts package to come about. Across the province at that time, 25 years ago now, there were several art schools that we visited, noted what they were doing, picked up the kernel of what they were trying to do, adapted it to our special needs and special way of doing things here. And that really came under the aegis of Rody Mueller, who took all of these arts types in the faculty and was able to meld it together under the administration of the principal of that day.
Thanks, Ray. Anyway,
what I was saying,
the way I would have put it, Ray, is that Eastwood was the perfect storm for an arts package in terms of staff. Like, our staff was as good as any of the staffs we visited in those art schools. The facilities, we have an auditorium. How many schools have that? 2 others in the region. And without it, I don't know how you could do an arts package. So we were truly a perfect storm. All we needed was a spark, and a sympathetic principal. Mr. Baxter.
Well, fortunately, I had a background in musical theater, being part of the Gilbert and Sullivan work, both on stage and in administration while going through university, and have been singing in church choirs ever since. And I think that I looked at the traditions of this school when the Ministry of Education said you can go ahead and put together packages of subjects and form programs that could be in the technical area, in the artistic area. And so when that document came from the Ministry of Education, and I looked at the kind of faculty that we had here and my own background belief in the arts, I thought, we can do something here. And it's just amazing to me how the idea got picked up by the department heads of the time, and the program moved forward. It took a lot of stick handling behind the scenes, And as Rolly, you said earlier, you weren't even aware of
No.
the negotiations that had to go on, other principals of the other high schools.
Let me just let me interrupt and really make that point, Wolf, because it's really important. The only guy whose neck was really on the line was Mr. Baxter. We could do anything, and we were classroom teachers. What are they going to do to us? Demote us, right? So we were safe in that sense in doing radical and crazy things. Mr. Baxter, on the other hand, has to answer to all kinds of weird people up in the Ed Center, and they're going to say, "Hey, don't you control your school? Who are these nutcases that are doing all these crazy things?" So he was really out on a limb, and I really admire him for grabbing the ball and didn't bat an eye, and he fought the battles, which frankly some of which I didn't even know about. He didn't brag about it. He just did it. Okay, go ahead.
Well, those battles were certainly worth it, and I think that the philosophy that we established as an integrated arts program was one that would prepare people not only for careers in the arts, but the general population to have an appreciation of the arts, whatever their career aspirations were. And I think that solid philosophy was what stood the program in good stead as we moved through a variety of different impacts on the curriculum. After I left, the grade 13 was removed and the options were shoved down into the earlier grades. I really didn't believe the program would survive, but it has. And it has because of the wonderful staff that took that and kept it going right through the many years.
Well, thanks, Wolf. Do we call Wilf or Mr. Baxter? What do we call these people that are all up here? Well, what's the difference?
Grandpa.
Yeah. John, would you like to add something?
Well, when I first came to Eastwood, there was a program, a string program going from grade 5. Eventually, they canceled the grade 5 and 6 program. Then I began to worry whether or not we would then have the ability and musicianship to accompany our musical theater, our shows. Well, once the arts package came to be, we inherited several good musicians. Some started privately. And come to mind the word integrate that Wilf used. This is, I found a very good example. To get the non-integrated students and the integrated students together, they had to perform together in the orchestra for the shows. And I found that the arts package people really gave kind of a spark to the rest of the students. Hence, I found the whole program and the whole school had improved. And that was the one thing that really I noticed throughout my teaching here.
Thanks, John. Larissa,
Yes.
in all this bibble babble, have you thought of anything that you'd like to add, or?
Yes, especially relating to the idea of integrated and the philosophy of people learning from each other's talents and drawing on each other's strengths and bringing that together. I think in the end, one of the most important things about that is the sense that you're never alone. And all of the students who go through here, I mean, certainly we all wind up in different places. We enjoy different levels of success. We all go on our own separate paths, but one thing we all have in common in our time here is that we are empowered. And we are empowered because we're not alone, because we're given that chance to reach out to others and to learn from each other. And we learn that there's no such thing as being isolated with something, something to offer that no one's ever going to recognize. We are empowered, and we learn that having, talents of expression or talents of the arts, if that is the way that you're going to give to people and make your contribution as a human being in whatever society that you're in, it's not something to hide. It's not something to try to cover up and learn a different skill. There's the old catechism, I want to be an artist, but I have to make a living. People, it gets wiped right out of their mouths. People learn to find strength in what it is that they can offer. They learn to have faith in it, and they learn to see that it can be worth something and that it can change. They own it. People, I think, walk out of this program saying, I'm not going to forget that. I can't forget that. I'm going to continue this sense of empowerment that I was given, and knowing that we can work together and take an idea and turn it into something larger that everyone's going to feel the impact of.
Well, you know, you have a talent for putting a lump in people's throats. One of the things that I'm particularly proud of in the arts package, now a little bit of background, in a bureaucracy like the school board, there are many, many, many committees, and we were, of course, a committee. And in that bureaucracy, the value of a committee is usually measured by the amount of paper that it generates, so that it can send memos and minutes to all various levels of bureaucracy, and they can pore over them and buy new filing cabinets to put them into, and all this sort of thing. The arts package never generated anything. We didn't even take minutes at our meetings. And yet, when decisions were made and jobs were handed out, they never failed to get accomplished. That's the level of people that we were working with. Of a verbal decision, bang, it was done. The only paper we generated in the entire 15 years I was here, in one form or another, is the Arts Package Information Booklet, which really was a job of the Arts Package Parents Committee, with our input, of course. And this contains everything you ever want to know about the Arts Package. Short, sweet, and it's very loaded with information. Just in case I forget, the Arts Package Parents Committee, I don't know if we would have survived without them. They're a group of parents that are second to none. They, you know, okay, a personal note. I was personally extremely gratified when the Arts Package parents were comfortable enough to come into this school, and a high school can be pretty intimidating for someone who isn't a teacher or a student there, feel comfortable here, walk into the staff room, sit down, have a coffee, chat with the staff, not just the Arts Package staff, but the staff generally, become known to the staff, and just feel like they're at home too, in a way. And that was one of the more gratifying moments for me. So there was this document. Here is one piece of paper. This makes the Arts Package run, right here. This is it. For 25 years, this program has run on the information on this piece of paper. It's got the philosophy, and it's got 9 points of precise implementation, practical. This is how the students are going to be affected